Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the professor, Luigi Rosa Bianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Put on your seatbelt, buddy. We're going to have some fun today. We've got Aaron Spivak, probably the most famous Canadian today. Aaron is a serial entrepreneur with a remarkable track record of building successful businesses. Matt, you ready for this? At 18 years old, he co-founded Revitasize, an organic cold-pressed juice kitchen offering juices, smoothies, acai bowls, and vegan options. He grew it over 8 locations across Toronto within 4 years. And now he recently founded the Founders Club, a community connecting high-growth founders in CPG, e-commerce, and retail for virtual and in-person collaboration. But before that, he founded Hush, a sleep improvement company behind the world's most popular weighted blanket, aiding those with sleep issues, anxiety, and ADHD. What on earth haven't you done at such a young age? Aaron, welcome to the podcast, pal.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Where did you get this entrepreneurial zest, bud?
You know, I grew up to 2 immigrant parents. My parents immigrated to Canada from Israel with my 3 older brothers. Then they had myself and my younger brothers, so a family of 5 boys. And my parents basically worked from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, doing everything from cleaning houses, truck driving. My mom would make money driving the school bus to figure out how to make money on the way to school and to pick us up. And ultimately, I watched firsthand what it took to make ends meet. And as a young kid, I would say to myself, I want all these things, right? I want to buy lunch. I want to buy the new hockey stick. I want to buy the new bike. And I didn't want to ask my parents for money. So I figured out, time to start lemonade stands, window cleaning, driveway sealing, whatever it was. I didn't even view it as entrepreneurship. I just viewed it as, I got to get some money in my pocket.
No better thing than humble pie to make someone hungry, huh?
Simple as that.
Awesome. So you're 18 years old. Most 18-year-olds are chasing skirts or trying to get their first sports car. What gave you the impetus to start a business, and then probably the toughest business to get into, the food business?
Yeah, one thing that's been super interesting about me is all my businesses have essentially fallen into my lap, or it's been derived from either a lack in my life or a passion that I've had. And right before the food business, I was actually the largest party bus coordinator in Toronto from grade 9.
So you were chasing skirts.
But the reason it started was because my grade 8 prom, we were all at the pre-prom, everyone was taking photos, and the bus is supposed to come and pick us up and drive us to the prom. We wait. There's no bus. No bus comes. And we're all tripping out. The parents are freaking out. So I go to the girl who was supposed to organize it. I said, where's the bus? And she goes, oh, well, my dad didn't want to put the credit card down for 50 idiots on a bus. So they didn't want to come without a credit card deposit. And I was like, oh, my God, the dad's not wrong for thinking that way. But this is probably a problem that everyone is having. So I started to say, you know what? I'll organize the prom. I'll put down my credit card. I'll make sure that, it shows up on time. I'll collect the money from all the kids. So I got a couple proms, and then I found out the hack. I said, every single principal has one big fear: a bunch of underage graduates all drunk at her prom, because it's a huge liability. So I would go prom committee to prom committee all over Toronto, and I would tell the principal if they were to recommend my buses, that I'd make sure there was no alcohol on the bus. And within a year, I went from like 20 to 30 buses to 80% of the proms in Toronto. I always make a joke. I was the richest I've ever been when I was like 13, 14 years old. I was cash rich. And then it all came apart when I was starting getting death threats from other companies. But again, that just came from solving a problem. Like, hey, I didn't have a bus, and now I have a bunch of buses. And then when it came to the juice business, it was the same thing. My mom did a 70-day juice cleanse. She lost 80 pounds. She didn't consume 1 ounce of food for 70 days, lost a tremendous amount of weight. Hair flowing and glowing, her skin came back, her energy came back. All her friends were like, what I want to do, what you're doing. And I looked at my mom, I was like, we better start juicing for them. So we bought mason jars, started juicing for them in our home. And the next thing when you go into someone's house, you have a little like bench by the door. You just sit down, you take your shoes off.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that at my house because I had a cash register there on that bench. People would knock on my door and I'd give them a bag of mason jars of juices. This is back in 2011. Now you can go to Whole Foods. There's all these
Did they
juice
have
places.
to return the mason jar back, or did they get to
Yes, of
keep the
course. You
mason
got to come
jar?
the next day. You got to bring me back the juices. I'm going to charge you $1.50 for
My
the
mother does
mason.
that. You get tomato sauce, but you got to bring the mason jar back. Otherwise, you'll never get tomato sauce
You never
again.
get again. It's like that with the Tupperware. They never forget. They know. They say they have RFID chips in the Tupperware, right?
The modern day
It's like
milkman.
3 weeks ago the lid. You didn't bring me the lid. Where's the lid? And you're like, I gotta go buy a new set now. So yeah, that's kind of like where it started. And honestly, things were fun. We were making like $500 a week, and I was 19. I was playing hockey. It was a little bit of money for my mom. But things got really serious because my dad was paying the mortgage. He would drive a truck 10, 15 hours a day and would earn enough money to pay the mortgage. And then this juicing thing we were doing in the house was a little bit of the spending money for groceries or whatever. And then one day I get a call from my dad, and my dad drove a truck 25 years. This is before GPSs and iPhone maps. This guy can go on a 10-hour road trip, no map, just I don't even know, reads the trees. I never understood it, but he knew how to get anywhere. And he calls me and he goes, hey, I need you to come pick me up. And I was like, sure, no problem. Where are you at? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And once he said that, I was like, oh my God, there's no way he doesn't know where he's at. So I call my brother. I'm like, yo, he doesn't know where he's at. He's like, nah, he's just messing with you. I'm like, no, he doesn't know where he's at. We gotta go pick him up. He's like, how are we supposed to pick him up? And I kind of remember that I can do the find my iPhone thing, that you lose your iPhone, log into his Apple, find where he's He's like 45 minutes away. I drive there. Doesn't know where he's at, kind of like super dazed and confused. Take him to the hospital. They say he's fine. And then the next morning he wakes up, he forgets a language. Like, at home we speak Hebrew and English, and my dad speaks fluent English. We've been in Canada for 20 years. No, not a lick of English, like zero. Like can't, like calling people who are only English speaking to them in Hebrew and getting frustrated that they don't understand them. I'm like, you speak English. What's wrong? You can't.
This is
not
crazy.
speak
So
English.
he forgot that part of his brain that knew English.
Gone. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take him to a different hospital. This is a
Insane.
testament to Canadian healthcare. And the triage nurse looks at me. She's like, "They sent you home from the other hospital?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been home all day, but this is not adding up." And she's like, well, "Guys, this guy's obviously had a stroke. He can't remember anything. He doesn't know his birthday. He doesn't know language." And then immediately they take his license away. Thankfully, he obviously survived the stroke and went through a whole program. But, when you take someone's license away, whose one's job is to drive a truck, then you lose the income.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was working for a company. He was, a sole proprietor. And our little juicing business in that moment became the only thing we had. And it was like almost like burn the boats mentality where we sit there, as a family, and I'm looking at my two brothers who are working jobs at the time. I'm like, y'all got to quit. I'm looking at my mom and I'm like, you got to better start calling your friends, come back. And I got to start figuring out how to market this thing. And then within 6 months, we actually had to open up our first location. We had no choice. We had a blow up bed in the back of the store. We would work 24-hour shifts. I would do 24 hours juice at night, sell during the day. Then my brother would juice at night, sell during the day. We still have the blow up mattress. It just packed up, and the toothbrush still there 11 years later. And then within a few years, we expanded to 8 locations in Toronto. And this was from 19 basically to 22. And it was out of a last ditch effort in a way to kind of save the family and make sure that we were able to make it
Aaron, tremendous story. How do you go from scrappy kid who's making juices in mason jars to overnight, literally overnight, having to learn how to negotiate leases and market your products and manage multiple stores and hire and fire and manage personnel and make payroll and read a P&L?
I think it's definitely a handful of things. But if I were to, and I'll go through a couple of them, but if I were to sum it up, it was a beautiful blend of delusion and understanding that nobody's going to save me. And I experienced it, when my dad had a stroke, everyone in the community knew what that meant for us. They knew our main source of income. People came and they brought food and they checked in and they were nice, but nobody came with $100,000 check saying, "Hey guys, don't worry about your bills for the next year. I got you." Nobody. No one came with even $100 to say, "Hey, let me take care of the food for you guys for a month." No one did, and that's not a knock on anyone. That's just life.
It's
No one
reality.
is coming to save you. Yeah, and when you experience that in real time as a young kid, the negotiations with the landlord, you don't go in there saying, "Oh man, never done this before." You know how many landlords laughed at me and told me to open up a coffee shop. One guy's like, "Here, I'll go open ice cream, buddy." Like no one landlord wanted to let a juice company in 2011. Now they're begging for the healthy spot. But this is 2011. That doesn't exist. The healthiest thing is a Subway sub, right? And I would look them in the eyes and have to fight them literally sometimes. I'd yell at them and they'd be like, "Oh, go get your dad in here to sign this lease." And I just didn't care because I knew it was survival. And that to me was when a Tyler would come in and say, "Oh, it's $8 a square foot." And I'm like, "I don't have $8, dude." He's like, "Sucks." I'm like, "Cool. I better start figuring out how to lay down the tile in the store." There's no other choice. Right. And so that part was definitely the inevitable. Like when your back's against the wall, you figure it out no matter what. I would say the other part was my parents. I don't even know if this was on purpose, but they instilled an extreme amount of confidence in me as a young kid. They never accepted any type of loser mentality ever. And it wasn't like sugarcoating. Like if I were to lose a game, they'd be like, "Oh, you played well." No, never actually. But it was more of like, you would lose and they'd be like, "Cool. Like, so what's next? How are you going to respond?" I was like, "I don't know." They're like, "Cool. You got a game tomorrow. You better hope you show up for it."
I would imagine you were raised in a house filled with love.
I think I would say I was raised in a house with a tremendous amount of tough love. I grew up in a house of 5 boys, two
But tough,
parents
tough
that
love. It's
worked.
still love nonetheless.
It's definitely love. I remember. This is a very interesting story that I don't really tell. But when I was, and I've actually used this analogy for building teams, and so much that we've done ever since is, my dad was always super super hard on me. And as a young kid, you're like, you don't know, like, is that love? Is that not love? Like, does he not like me? Like, what's the issue? It's never enough. I scored 2 goals, should have scored 3. I started a business and should have been bigger. Like, whatever it is, never enough. And I remember one time I was at a grocery store and they just launched the self checkout. So they had like people there and whatever, and they didn't know where the lines were. It was super messy, and I was like maybe, I don't know, 11. I see one of the spots open, and I jump in. I'm like, I get the spot. Look at my dad. I wave him over, and I guess I must have butted a couple of the people that were in front of me, and one of the guys, like this grown ass man, kind of like pulled my shirt back, and he's like, "Nice try, kid," like whatever. And he like kind of yanked me back. And it was like the first, I was like, "Holy shit." Like, I don't know what to do. I was 11 years old. And like, my dad grabbed him and he's like, "You fucking touch a kid." And like, the guy freaked out. He got so scared. He ran away. And my dad came to me after. He's like, "You're an idiot. What are you doing? Like, why are you cutting the line?" But that wasn't the point. The point was, it was in that moment I knew, like, as much tough love as there is, he still got my back. And it's something that, like, I feel like that's been a part of everything I've built ever since. Like, no matter how hard I am on people or how high I set the bar on myself, I still let people know, like, hey, at the end of the day, no one's going to fuck with you. And it's such an important thing that, like, as a family, we've been able to do. Like, we're super competitive. We're 5 boys. We compete for the love from my parents. We compete for the love internally. We compete sports because we're 5 of us. We can play any sport together, But no matter what, at the end of the day, we were always reminded that we can rely on each other. And it's something that was, instilled very, very young in me.
Were your 4 brothers involved with any of the businesses, or did they do their own thing?
So at first they did their own thing. One of my older brothers played pro hockey. The other were in great corporate positions. But as the juice store started to expand, we couldn't afford to hire people. So we started to, "Hey, can you quit hockey? Come and join us. Hey, can you quit your job and come and join us?" And the next thing you know, it's all of us now working in this business. We have 6 locations and managers, and then we start franchising. So, and now, like, fast forward to today, actually, I'm not even in that business day to day, and two of my brothers run it, and my parents work in it as well. So it's really much morphs into a family business for sure.
It's crazy because around that time, when I was on Wall Street, we started raising money for a company called Jamba Juice, which is probably very similar, right?
Canadian owner, by the way.
And
yes,
and people are looking at you like you're crazy, but they had no idea. You was just right. You were there at the right time, right? So when did Hush come into play? Was that prior? Was that before this or after?
That's a good point. So what happened was every time I was quite frustrated actually and I would complain every day to my brothers. I would say, this is such a stupid business because we make like $300,000 in profit, which is like amazing. And then we got to take it and open another store and risk all of the money we made again, and then go build community again and let people know about our brand. It's like starting from scratch again and again. And so it's like we never make money. Like, when are we going to make money? Because anytime we make it, we have to keep doing it. And I remember telling a friend of mine who I met at a bar, I was like, he was like so impressed with what we were building. We were the talk of the town. And I was like, this sucks. And he's like, dude, have you heard of the internet? And I was like, what do you mean, dude? Yeah, of course. We have a website, with like an image of what we do in our locations. He's like, no, dude, like on the internet, you can sell to everybody from one location. And my mind was like, explosion, and he sat with me and actually ended up being my eventual partner in Hush, but he actually helped me launch the Revita website, which is the juice website. And then within 2 months, it became not only our highest grossing store, the online store, also our most profitable store, because you now take one location and you can facilitate way more from one spot. One driver goes out every night, delivers 100 orders, makes more money than the 150 people that walked in that day, right? So now your economies of scale are benefiting you. Your price per employee goes down through the roof, like your revenue per head. All these metrics start to be so much better because you can facilitate way more business from just one location. And then I was like, but I can only ship so far. Like, juices can only go so far. And I was like, you know what? Let's do an online business. You and I will do it. And we brainstormed a bunch of ideas, and like every day we were brainstorming ideas. And he sends me an article that says 1 in 4 Americans are suffering from anxiety, and even more are suffering from stress and insomnia. And he's like, what if we can create a product that would change that? And I was like, I don't know what that product is. Like, we can start doing some research. And a lot of the research came back to a study done over 100 years ago on deep touch pressure stimulation, essentially the science of a hug. When someone gives you a tight hug, what it does is it naturally reduces cortisol, which is that stress-inducing hormone. And then it also releases the melatonin and serotonin, which are both relaxing and actually make you feel happy. And so we all know that feeling when someone gets hugged. So they used it in World War II. They would tightly wrap people in blankets and like literally like tie them in, so they would, so they would start panicking. They have panic attacks and stuff like that. And at the time, there was only available ones for kids, and specifically targeted to kids who suffered from any sensory issue, whether it was autism or stress, whatever it is. And we're like, why can't there be one for adults? And then we said, you know what? Can we create the world's first adult weighted blanket? And it was a pipe dream. So I made one sample, took a picture of it on a shitty iPhone, didn't even cut out the background, made a landing page, and bought the top keyword for weighted blanket. Little did I know that there was 300,000 people every single month searching for the term weighted blanket, and pretty much no one satisfying that demand. Quickly became the number one weighted blanket. And before we knew it, we had a 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 a month business without even any inventory yet, with one sample.
But again, you're diving into the vast unknown. Now you're wading into the manufacturing world and direct to consumer, right? So there's a huge learning curve there. Where were these products manufactured, Aaron?
The sample we made in Toronto. And then once we started getting momentum, we flew to Hangzhou, which is in China, did a nice tour there. Ended up actually sourcing a lot of our fabric from Israel, shipping it over to China, getting them manufactured in China, shipping them to Canada, getting them packaged in Canada, and then shipping out to our customers.
But you're leaving out one major part of the story: how you raised $1.5 million to go out and get the manufacturing, because this is still something people don't take advantage of: crowdfunding, kickstarting programs. So why don't you tell the audience?
Yeah, so it's interesting how we got to there. So I'll actually add a layer to it as well. so many people come to me and say, I don't have money. You know, I need money to start a business. I always need money to start a business. That's like I actually hate that line. I need money to start the business. It's like, you know, at the time I had no money. All my money was in the juice business, and I would DJ on the weekends because I told my business partner, I said, I'm going to DJ 2 weekends in a row. I'm going to make $4,000. I'm going to put that into this business to fund the website and to like get the photography and stuff and get some ads made, get a little bit of ad spend. So I started this business with $4,000. We pre-ordered. So we basically had an image and we said, hey, you're going to get the product in 3 months from now. We gave them a discount for it too. Hey, it's going to be $200, but if you pre-order and wait, you'll get it for $149. Some people are willing to do that. No, not everyone's in a rush. And so we were able to actually take in the initial batch of like $300,000 just from pre-orders, which is kind of like a crowdfunding campaign, but it's not. The story is that we started in January and we went from 30K, 60K, 90K, 120K. Guys, we were rich. Like I thought we had a gold mine. I was flexing on my brothers. I'm like, yeah, you go make the juices today. I'm not making the juices today. You know, like you guys, you go blend the smoothies. I'm not blending the smoothies, you know? And then, you know,
making a smoothie and his phone's going off. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching,
yeah,
cha-ching.
literally cha-ching all
Siblings are
day.
always siblings, Matt.
Yeah, and the bank account is flying because I'm not shipping anything, right? So it's just like every day you get like 10K, 5K just straight into the bank account. And I'm 21 years old, you know, I start going to nice restaurants already. And July hits, and, you know, in Toronto, in Canada, it gets mega cold. And we have Celsius. I don't know what 30 degrees is, like 80, 85. Goes 85, 90 in July. And we go from cha-chings all day to basically zero sales. Like literally every week, maybe one sale. And my co-founder calls me and he's like, listen, we got a seasonal business. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's seasonal. It's not consistent. We have 300 blankets left because at this point we got our first shipment. Let's sell it out. We'll split 35K each because that would have been the profit on it.
What were you doing? Were you running ads on Facebook at this time? Targeting?
Mostly Google.
Okay.
We bought the number one spot on Google, and our competitors were not so serious. So we basically owned all the traffic, and then we had some retargeting campaigns and stuff like that. Super profitable, like 15 to 21x ROAS, which is a story of its own, which was stupid at the time, but we'll take it. And I basically, you know, didn't want to quit because I don't like to quit anything. So I was like, no, like this can't be it. This can't be it. He's like, yeah, dude, let's just sell through and move on. And in the last ditch effort, I was like, listen, the one thing we have at the juice store that we don't have online is at the juice store, when I make a new smoothie or I make a new juice, I literally pour it into 20 sample cups. And the next 20 people that come in, I go, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And they tell you on the spot, too sweet, not good enough. Add more this, add more that. And after a week, you have a perfect smoothie that everyone had to say. And we weren't able to do that. So I was like, fuck it. We have 2,000 customers. I'm going to call every single one of them. Literally called every single one of them. About 900 of them answered. 700 of them were actually nice to talk to. And from the 700, every conversation went the exact same way. We called them. We said, what's going on? And they would say, listen, we love the product, the weight distribution, it works, it's amazing, but it's 90 degrees outside. I'm sweating in places I've never sweat before. I wake up in a pool sweat. So I'm putting this thing in the closet. I'll bring it back out in the winter. And it was like a light bulb moment for us. And we're like, wow, all of our competitors now, because we had all these competitors starting to come and try to copy us, they're all copying this version that only sells one portion of the year. No one's thinking about the future because people love the hug, the deep touch pressure stimulation, but they hate the heat. So our project was, can we create a cooling weighted blanket? And that's where Kickstarter came in, because after every manufacturer we spoke to, there was this one company in Israel that was able to develop the fabric, but to buy a proprietary fabric, you got to buy a lot of it. And it was a minimum of 150K, and we just didn't have that money. And we also didn't know that people would buy this. This was just like a qualitative data that we got from our people. So then we said, you know what, let's go to Kickstarter and let's see if we can launch the world's first cooling weighted blanket on Kickstarter, which was probably the best decision we ever made, because in our first year, we made 700K in sales. We launched that product on Kickstarter the next year. We went from a 700K business to a $10 million business essentially overnight, because we broke the mold, right? Every single one of our competitors, their 1-star reviews were too hot, too hot, too hot. And we solved the problem for the entire market and became basically a world leader by simply listening to our customers.
So did you get rid of the other blanket, or was it 2 blankets that you had listed at that time?
I would say both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would say both.
And then, so where's Dragon's Den come into play? For everybody listening, if you don't know what Dragon's Den is, it's Shark Tank of Canada. It's the actual original Shark Tank.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Dragon's Den was first.
Oh, was
like
it?
Kevin O'Leary. Yeah.
Okay.
Dragon's Den was the first ever, and then it was a good concept, and ABC bought the concept and created Shark
No,
Tank.
but I
Kevin
mean,
O'Leary,
when
Robert
did
Herjavec.
was it before the second blanket or during the second blanket?
Oh no, it was after. It was right after.
Okay.
So we get on there, and we have this cooling weighted blanket, the only sample we've ever made. We haven't even delivered the Kickstarter yet. I have it underneath the cover. And we pitch it, and they go, "Oh, we've seen these before, but they get so hot." And we go, "Huh? Perfect. Get over here." Pull the sheet back, touch it, and it's freezing. It's freezing to the touch. This fabric. All their minds are blown. We have a viral video. Just goes. We were the only pitch ever in 14 years to increase valuation on live TV.
Wow.
Ever. We had all 6 fighting for literally 15 minutes, just fighting for who gets to pitch. And then, Canada just fell in love with us, these 2 young entrepreneurs with this crazy business. And then the second that episode aired, the business went absolutely viral.
I was going to ask you, how did it feel? What were the nerves like going in? But knowing you now and getting to know you a little bit better, you just went in there with I don't give a fuck attitude. Let's go, is what I could.
Yeah, like we practiced a few times. It was funny actually because we actually had a couple curveballs thrown. We were supposed to go, so it was funny. I didn't tell my co-founder that I was getting a spray tan, so we show up on set. He's like white as hell. I'm like, darn, I got spray tan. He's like, dude, what? Why didn't you tell me? I was like, honestly, I don't know why I didn't tell you. And we're like literally like an Oreo. It's awful. He's like, we're gonna look like so bad beside each other. And like right before we were supposed to go on that day, one of the cameramen who sits up fell and cracked his head, and they're like, "Yo, we can't shoot. Like we have this whole mess. It's gonna take us 2 hours to clean it up, and we don't have another guy. So you guys got to come tomorrow," which was honestly a blessing because who the hell wants to pitch last for the day? Everyone's tired.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go first thing tomorrow morning, and gave my co-founder time to go get a spray tan. So. But it also kind of took the edge off because we were kind of nervous. We were there all day. We didn't know when we were going to pitch, right? So we were there from 8 a.m. and we're now 4:30 about to pitch. We've been there all day, kind of tired and sitting in our stuff. And it was a blessing to kind of go home and then come back fresh in the morning. And yeah, to your point, we walked in and we knew we were not messing around. We knew more about the dragons or the sharks than they knew about themselves. We knew exactly what we were there for. We were speaking to the 30 million Canadians behind the camera. We were not speaking to the 6 dragons in front of us. Most people make the mistake. They go on there and they think it's a business deal. It's not a business deal. It's an opportunity for you to get 5.5 minutes of TV that you would never be able to afford as a young brand. That's what this is. And we pulled on the heartstrings of Canadians. We launched our Give Back program where we donate 1 in 10 of everything we sell. We showcased videos of us renting a van and giving blankets to the homeless on the street when it's freezing outside. We really leaned into our relationship with our customers. And it was the biggest reason why we went from 10 million to 25 million, all the way through to the exit. Because no matter we had 70,000 active Amazon competitors at one time. 70,000 with inventory.
Wow.
To the point where Amazon made a policy around weighted blankets that you can't even launch one anymore because it was taking up too much space in their warehouses.
So how do you compete with that, right? So you're going to China, you're getting stuff manufactured. China's watching everything that's going on. You're selling on Amazon. You have a number 1 product. They're just going to copy. So how do you create the brand? What made you guys stand out? I know you had loyal customers, but generally you buy a blanket, it's one and done, right? How do you, I heard about this weighted blanket, and you have all the competition from China coming in with knockoffs and selling it on there. How did you guys fight through that?
I would love to say there was a tactic. So for those who are listening, the truth is, I outworked people. If I'm being 100% honest, I had a picture of my top 15 competitors. I knew every single thing about their lives. I'd follow them on Instagram. I knew they liked to party. I knew they had 2 kids. I knew they had schools to pay for. I knew every single thing about them. They were not me. I was doing 21-hour days. I would take 3 to 4 45-minute naps 7 days a week. They were fucking around. I knew what gyms they went to. I reverse engineered their margin where they couldn't afford to compete with me. They could never afford to compete with me because they needed to make a certain amount of money every month to pay for their life. For the first year and a half, we were at one point we were doing 25 million a year. I was on every single billboard in the city, and I was still DJing bar mitzvahs. And people would come and laugh at me. They'd be like, "Oh, I thought this business was making money," and they would take selfies with me, like, "This is the blanket guy. He's DJing my bar mitzvah." Because I would be on every TV ad, I'd be on every billboard, I'd be on all your Facebook ads. We'd be spending $1 million a month on ads. I would still be DJing bar mitzvahs because I didn't want to take $1 out of the business. So I squashed people I paid for that number 1 spot because I knew everyone else was not willing to do it. They made 10, 15K a month. They wanted to put 8 in their pocket and flex on their girlfriend and go take them, their wife out on a trip, which is great. And I used to make posts online saying the best thing that ever happened to the people that were selling phone cases was that I chose not to sell phone cases. It's the best thing that ever happened to them. The worst thing that you could ever do as an entrepreneur at that time was to choose to sell weighted blankets because you had no idea who you were dealing with. And, I also make a joke now saying that version of myself is dead, but that's what it took. I wasn't super rich. I didn't raise money. I didn't have a dad that can give me the plan B. So that's what it took. And I bought the number 1 spot in 40 countries until eventually people viewed us as the number 1 brand. The next layer of it is I still did 500 calls a week with customers. Another thing no one is willing to do. You know how many times I hear people, "Oh, I have a $5,000 a month business, $10,000 a month business," and it's like, okay, cool. How many times did you call all of your customers that bought today? The 40 people that purchased, did you call every single one? No. I emailed them. You relied on an email software to send you an email. What about the response? Oh, my VA response. And then they tout it as if it's like, oh, I automated my business. It's like, no, you idiot. You missed out on 40 relationships. People love to talk. They love to talk. And where are they going to go? They're going to go and say, "Hey, I got this weighted blanket. The owner called me. They're good guys. You know what? They're legit." So when we were selling weighted blankets for $400 and our competitors started selling for them for $49.99, people didn't hesitate about which one was better. We were better. Like, we had a superior product. Don't get me. We're not like we were selling shit. But was it 8 times better? I don't know. Right? But that doesn't matter. And that's the point.
No, I'm a big believer in that. Me and Luigi actually talk about it all the time, and we actually do it inside of our business, right? You go to a restaurant, food's good, but the owner comes over, he talks to you. He brings you an appetizer, he gives you a drink, he makes you feel good. No matter what, when you leave, you're probably going back, "Oh, let's go see Enzo at the corner." Food's okay. It's not the best, but the atmosphere, the environment, and that personal touch goes a long way.
It's everything, dude. It's why I go to the shitty coffee shop down the street, because she pretends she remembers me, and then she makes me what I want to make, and then she tells me to have a good day. There is a study on people's gym habits. Okay, and I think it was done maybe by Equinox or Lifetime, I forget. And they basically tested the girl at the front door, not saying hi, okay, because that's what everyone does. That is on your way out. They tested sayings that she would say that would increase your show rate. Because people think that gym owners don't want you to come because it's like this whole mathematical equation. It's actually the other way around. You want people to use the gym so that they don't quit. If they stop using the gym, eventually they'll stop paying. And guess what? The number 1 thing that got people to come back, it was, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow." Yeah. It was like a commitment to the girl at the front desk that they probably don't even know. "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow." So when I tell people and I say, we sold 3,000 pillows in 24 hours. We never sold a pillow before. People are like, "How'd you do it? What was the hack?" I was like, "I don't know. I spent 6 months calling people saying, 'Hey, we're going to make a pillow. If I were to make a pillow for you, what would it have to have?' Big, small, easy to wash, a zipper, this type of foam, shredded foam, like Pepedic, whatever. Great." And I would update them throughout the process for 6 months. And eventually I said, "Hey, remember you said you wanted me to make you a pillow? I made one for you. Here it is." And boom, 3,000 pillows, 24 hours. It's not rocket science. That's basic business. It's basic business. Like when my lawn guy comes and he goes, "Hey, you got a lot of mosquitoes? Yeah, you want me to do a quick spray for you for a week, see if it works. If not, I'll add it." Boom, now he's got an extra $45 for me. But if he sent me a bullshit mailer or an email, he's not getting the $45. But he showed up. And people aren't willing to do that. They're not in today's world. We just want to send emails and AI and do that stuff. I was willing to go. I drove mattresses to people's house for I don't even know how long. And then people say, well, how did you beat when Casper launched in Canada? They did $900,000. They spent $7.5 million on that campaign. When we launched our mattress, we did $1.5 million. We spent less than $50K. But I went door to door to door. I called all of our customers. I literally delivered 100 mattresses out of the back of my Audi because that's what it took. And that's one of the biggest reasons we sold the brands, because we had the community and everyone else had, some bullshit blanket.
Lou, is it me, or was he born in the wrong generation? Because it's lovely to speak to you. I forget that you're only still in your 20s.
I just turned 30 this year, actually, but yes.
Aaron, this conversation has been very refreshing for us because I hate to say it because Matt and I get criticized of being, yeah, you old fuddy duddies. But your generation, and I'm not going to soften the blow, but it is a generational thing. They lack, either through our generation's fault in failing to inculcate the importance of developing relationships.
Relationships are everything in life. Everything.
Or it's just a cultural trend where everything is automated and we don't need relationships anymore. But people rather text or email rather than jump on a phone or meet in person. Could you imagine meeting someone in person, eye to eye, maybe have a handshake or bond with someone?
It's crazy, right?
Okay, so all this leads up to this volcanic apex, and it's the Founders Club. So
yeah, so I mean, essentially, the way Hush ended was, we eventually got to a $50 million business. COVID actually was a great tool for us. I mean, everyone was at home, stressed and had anxiety, and we had the product to solve that. And then they got a bunch of stimmy checks, so we were able to raise prices and increase margin. It was all perfect perfect storm.
Nice.
You guys had those stimulation checks in Canada too?
Yeah.
Man,
we did better with the Americans. Americans love to spend their share wallet. Canadians are professional savers. Yeah. And we ended up selling the company to the largest sleep company in the country.
Good for you.
Which was fantastic. But again, I was 25 years old when that happened, and had a whole bunch of money now, and was lost and confused. I had like a little bit of a panic attack. I moved back into my mom's basement.
If you have a panic attack, I could recommend a great blanket.
I was having the most unique panic attack of all time because it was like happening in slow motion. Shit. It was like, it's like you don't even know you're panicking, but you're like trapped, and the whole world comes from you. And in Canada, it was the third largest direct-to-consumer transaction in Canadian history, and also I was the only person under 50 to do it. I was 25, so my face was on. I didn't even know what BNN was until I stepped on the set. I didn't know that was on every article, and my high school that I didn't graduate from started to talk about me and all these things, and it was attracting a tremendous amount of attention, but I didn't feel what people thought I was feeling. A lot of people view an exit or a liquidity event like winning the lottery, and it's the furthest thing from winning the lottery. The true actual feeling, and this is took me 5 years to get to this analogy, and I hope it works for you guys, or at least the people listening, is the best analogy I've ever had to describe it, and the only one that actually works is, picture you have a dog. You buy a dog as a baby. You raise it 6 years. You love this dog. Okay, this is your dog. Someone knocks on your door one day, gives you a check, takes your dog. And then the dog is gone, happy with its new owner. And you have this check. And not only that, now everyone is celebrating you like you're a genius. How would that person feel? First of all, no one would give their dog away. And even if you were the sicko to give your dog away, no one's coming and celebrating you, because they look at you like, dude, it must suck that, but you gave it away. And that's exactly what happens when you sell your business that you started with your bare hands, from nothing, from an idea in between your ears. And
I could totally
go
relate
ahead.
to that, because when I left Wall Street, my partners wound up buying me out. It was cool for a minute, and then I lost my identity, bro. My identity was gone. Who am I? What do I do now? Where am I going? You know, and
Yeah, Aaron, he's right, because I knew Matt back in the day, and everyone knew Matt as Matt Wall Street, right? So you take Wall Street away, now who's Matt? All right. He's a cool dad, he's a good husband, but still, where's Matt Wall Street?
It's an identity crisis. It's, what do I do now? People. I was the blanket boy for a lot of people, especially specifically in Canada. So I kind of went into hiding, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to take $500,000, which is a lot of money, and I'm going to go and I'm going to host dinners
okay,
all over America. So I ended up doing 31 cities, including Canada. I would host 30 to 40 to 50 founders at a time, spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10K a dinner. Everyone would leave the dinner. They'd be like, so what's the catch? I'm like, there's no catch, guys. Just want to meet you guys. Want to see, want to be around like-minded people. And people started to really gravitate towards it. And then what I realized after having dinner with 5,000 founders was that we're all the same. There's no difference. I mean, at a certain point, we're all just one version of each other, and with a little bit of a different story, but kind of a lot of the same energy, same problems. And why is there a community for every other modality in life except for being a founder? If you're into if you're a spiritual person, there's tons of that. If you're a religious person, there's tons of that. If you're into fitness, if you're into yoga, whatever it is you like to do, running, there's always a community for what you like to do. But when it comes to building a business for yourself and for your friends, the only way to get into a community is to find some guru you found on Instagram, or overpay him, and then sign up for his bullshit course. There's no actual authentic community for it. And I said, you know what? I messaged all 5,000 founders like I always do. I said, if I were to create this, would you join it? And they said, yep, we'll join it. And that became the Founders Club, which is now, in my opinion, and according to ChatGPT, the best community for high growth founders who are actually in the trenches growing. So we don't do executives or CEOs or whatever, or people just starting out. There's lots of help for that. We are there for the founders for every stage, whether through acquisition, pre and post, through IPO, through scaling, through hiring, through firing, through international expansion, whatever it is you want to do. Odds are there's someone in the community who's just a few steps ahead of you, who'll probably save you a ton of time and probably a ton of money too, just by, I always say you're one person away from changing your life. You're one conversation away from changing your life, and those literally happen every single day inside the four walls of the club.
that's funny. I always tell people you're one relationship away from changing your life.
Yep. And instead of just walking down the streets and hoping that God sends you this person, why don't go where this person is most likely at? And that's where the idea of being around like-minded
I
people.
love it, man. So you guys you're running strong. You got a lot of members, right? And you're launching in new cities. So is it like a regional meetup type style event? Are there major
So a lot of the action is virtual, right? So we're buzzing in the Slack, so many different channels for different things, whether it's, a lot of people are talking about AI, trying to drive efficiencies. So a lot of conversation there. We bring on experts every Wednesday, just as just for content for the club. So we just had, Zev Siegel. Most people don't even know Zev Siegel is the founder of Starbucks. Howard Schultz worked for him for 10 years. People don't even know that.
I didn't know that.
Right? So the OG owner of Starbucks coming to speak, the Mark Cubans and stuff. It's all inside the club. It's not like stuff we promote. So it's all Q&A. You get to go deep. So that happens every week. Then we also have the monthly mastermind. So you get put into a group of 6 to 8 other people in and around your niche, in and around your business size, bigger, smaller, etc. They're all facilitated. So we actually have an executive coach, not coaching, facilitating. Very big. We don't teach. The group helps each other, right? Our biggest question when people come in, a lot of people come in, they go, what's my ROI going to be? And we're like, you're not in. The biggest question, and it's the foundation of every good relationship, as the two of you know, is a good relationship involves equal parts giving and taking. If you're just a taker, you suck. And if you're just a giver, eventually you're going to feel empty from those relationships. So we facilitate that as well. So the big question coming in is, hey, what can you give to the community? Why should we allow you to join this group? So it's the foundation of what we do. People are supporting people literally within seconds sometimes. Like the other day, someone's like, hey, I need an HS code for this product to lower my tariff. That's a very niche thing. And within a half a second, someone's like, I have an I built an HS AI agent that you can just plug into your GBT and it'll give you the HS code. That is gold. Dude, that is gold, right? So it's things like that are happening all day. Then we do have meetups. So people meet locally in their cities, but we also have actual event-based retreats. We just did Costa Rica with 15 members. We have our annual retreat. Last year was in Tulum for 50 members where we do goal setting and also reflection on the year. We have a yacht day with Noah Rosenfarb as one of our members, sold his company $900 million. He's a tax specialist. We're going on his boat May 15 here in Miami, 25 members. So we're doing things all the time. We're also doing fun, paddle tournaments, pickleball tournaments, sometimes just hanging out. So it's not always business, it's being around like-minded people.
I love it.
Because it's not just how much money are you making. It's like, who are you as a person?
No, I love it. Surround yourself with people that are like-minded, like you said, like you. And it's a lot more beneficial than just business and ROI, right?
Matt, I'm going to make a humble suggestion, buddy. Usually you get to a point where you kind of give us a sign off and you thank the guest for coming and, we end the podcast. I don't think we're going to end this podcast. I think what we're going to do is we're going to adjourn it. And we're going to invite Aaron back maybe every year or so, because look what he's done in 9 years, right? Imagine what he's going to do within the next year. So we're going to have the Aaron Spivak back, series 2 in about a year's time. And Aaron, it's up to you to see what you're going to pull off in these next 12 months, bud.
Yeah, man, I think if we can continue to have fun, we're going to continue to do a lot of good things. That's kind of like the barometer, and is like I've always enjoyed everything that we do. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the secret sauce. And my old ex-girlfriend when I was 22, when she dumped me, she said, you only do what you want to do. And I thought it was a bad thing, but I realized, that's actually the superpower. It's like, as long as I want to do this, we're going to keep doing it. And like, I go all in, I give it everything I got. I don't half-ass anything. And that's, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm equally as excited.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here, man. We want to be respectful of your time. Can you tell everybody where they can find Founders Club if they have an interest in joining?
Yeah. On Instagram, it's just Founders Club, foundersclubofficial.com. Yeah, we bought that thing. There you go. You just click become a member. It's a 15-minute call just to see if you're a good fit. I will be transparent. You get about 200 applications a week, and we only accept 6 to 10. So if you're listening to this and you want me to give you the cheat code, one is make sure you make over $500K a year, or just save yourself the time. Don't apply. But most importantly, make sure you're ready with what you can give to the community. Because if you're like fumbling on that, it's a big admissions canceller that gets people off the cliff, unfortunately, that they don't end up in.
Aaron, thank you so much, brother. We're going to see you again on the show. I can't wait. Everybody.
Can't wait, guys.
That's a wrap. The Liquid Lunch Project. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Let's go!